What's good, everyone? It's your boy, your dig, 4 Eyes, 2 G's here, and today we're here to talk about ASAP Ferg, ASAP Rocky, ASAP Illz, basically the whole of the mob. Now, as most of you guys would know, just a couple weeks ago now, it came out that according to ASAP Illz at least, that ASAP Ferg was no longer a member of ASAP Mob, and of course, this made a huge splash, huge headlines, etc, and we saw a couple other situations play out, but now we've actually got ASAP Ferg's response to this whole drama, and in my opinion, there are certain things that people are just not picking up on, and it's pretty clear that there's a disconnect within the ASAP mob, particularly between Ferg and Illz/Bari. So I want to break it down. Let's go.
Gotta come a bitch talk shit, play a part. Don't forget that bitch is something in the park. That nigga ain't gang, he a narc. These niggas be biting style like a shark. These niggas ain't big dog, they just bark. Don't ride my way, nigga, like a art. I ain't coming no bitch, nigga, I'm smart. These niggas be 12 like Paul Blart. Gotta stay pluggy, send it through the mail. You ain't getting no money, nigga, broke his head. You were locked up, ain't nobody pay your bill. You was sitting alone, all up in his cell.
Okay, firstly, just for some background and some context, let's just kind of set the scene. So as you guys can read right here, ASAP Ferg is no longer part of ASAP Mob, says ASAP Illz. Now, I'm going to read through these right here. Some of you guys may remember this, but let's just go through it again for history's sake. As you can see right here, ASAP Illz, who, if you guys are unaware, is actually a founding member of the ASAP Mob. He's not really a rapper on the front line or anything like that, but he's someone who's pretty well known in kind of like the Instagram, SoundCloud community, and especially if you remember when Rocky kind of came up and kind of became relevant around 2011 and 2012, it was kind of hung around them a lot back then, so he's definitely an important figure in the whole ASAP story. Anyways, as you guys can see right here, ASAP Illz basically came out and said straight, Ferg ain't ASAP no more. Sorry guys, that person burnt out. Song's dumb trash, Mr. Anthem can't get it right. And then he also elaborates on the whole situation in some other stories. As you guys can see right here, ASAP Ferg actually texts ASAP Illz and says, stop playing with me, I don't even play with you. And then it's pretty clear that right here, there's a disconnect between Illz and Ferg in some sort of way. He said, fuck off my line, fuck you texting me for, and then on top of that, a couple stories down, he just comes out and straight says that Ferg became a snake. So yeah, right here, this kind of exemplifies that there's clearly a disconnect between Illz and Ferg. Now on top of that, we also saw Bari come out, and this kind of added credibility to the whole situation, where he said, look, Illz said what he said, Illz is a founding member of ASAP, and there wouldn't be no ASAP without him, so he's kind of like bigging up his word and kind of co-signing what Illz said. Now, what kind of put all this drama to rest was ASAP Nast's response to this situation, where he just comes out and says the Trap Lord was not and will not be kicked out of ASAP, false news, everybody go home. Now, this is super important to say right here. Disputes happen in families all over the world. Now, keep that in mind. So very clearly, Nast is saying to us there's a disconnect within the ASAP mob, which we're going to touch on in a second. Now, Ferg kind of addresses all of this drama with this interview with Hot 97 right here. I'm going to play a couple key clips and kind of give my thoughts on them.
For that incident where individuals from the ASAP mob said that you wasn't in, did that really happen? What was real? What was fake? Where's it at now?
Them tweets was really real. It was something super petty.
And what stood out to me from that response right there is that Ferg doesn't deny that there was no beef, deny that there was no issue at all. In fact, he says that it was over something petty. So yeah, Ferg even confirms himself that this was a real issue and there was real tension within the mob. Now let's get to the second response right here.
Is there a world where ASAP Ferg is not in the ASAP mob? Is that a thing?
No, that's not a thing at all. It's not a thing.
You mean Ebro, in the future?
I am the ASAP mob. Like, I mean, who's been waving his flag, for the past couple years? You can't spell ASAP without saying ASAP Ferg.
And you and Rocky still communicate. Everything's love. That's your brother.
Yeah.
That's always been your brother.
Yeah. Listen, I was while all of this was happening, we was together in LA. Like, just because we don't post all of the time, people assume like, oh, they're not together, this, that, and the third.
Now keep in mind, that entire response right there to the question by Ebro was addressing his relationship with the Rocky was good. Not once did he mention Illz, and not once did he mention Bari. Now think back to the headlines and kind of what this whole situation was about. Nobody mentioned Rocky in any way, shape, or form. It was about Illz and what Bari said in regards to Ferg no longer being a part of the mob. So in my opinion, it's pretty telling that he doesn't mention Illz or Bari by name, and that he only touches on his relationship with the Rocky being good. But let's continue on.
So there's some stuff in the stash.
The guys who actually did say something on Twitter is not the rappers out of the group. So it's like, we good. It's just, some people feel a way. Like I said,
it's on the record.
I address it on a record.
And this kind of goes to what I was saying before, and it's super important to mention because some people, when this kind of news came to light about Illz saying what he said, some people were saying, hey, this is probably fake, this is just album promotion, etc, etc. But Ferg is literally telling us in this interview right here, hey, there's some fuck shit going down in the mob right now. I'm cool with Rocky still, me and Rocky hung out, but remember, he says no other ASAP Mob member by name, and just based off everything else we have to go off, it's clear to me at least, again, just speculating, that Illz, Bari do not see eye to eye with Ferg right now. Now, on top of that, the other big headline that kind of came out as a result of this Hot 97 interview is the fact that Ferg said he was going to drop a song that kind of addressed the whole ASAP Mob situation and the comments of Illz and Bari, and that had, quote, all the answers you want, which he did actually end up dropping a couple days ago, called Big ASAP. Now, before we break this down, guys, I want to give a couple quick shout outs on Instagram. As always, big shout outs to Eric881 and also shout outs to James Johns209. Much appreciated you two for following me over on my IG. If you guys don't follow your boy, man, at ED, make sure you go follow your boy over there. It's always much appreciated. Also, reminder about my big cartel where we have a couple merch pieces available. You guys can see them on the screen right now. If you're interested in copying, link will be in the description. But let's get back to this song right here called Big ASAP, where again, Ferg said that he was gonna address the situation and give us all the answers. The problem with this song is that Ferg doesn't really address the situation in too many lyrics. The biggest one that people are pointing towards is this one right here, where he says, some of my people got jealous, they see their man rose. Now, in the context of Ferg saying that this song would address the situation, people are saying that with this lyric right here, he's kind of saying, hey, Bari or Illz or people within his camp were jealous of him, and that's why we saw the situation play out with how it did. If I was to guess, it's probably directed towards Illz more than anything, because Illz was the one who said it. But yeah, people were pointing towards this lyric right here, which does make sense in the context. Plus, on top of this, there were also these lyrics right here, where he says, the propaganda bring you up to bring you back down, how you go and kick the leader of ASAP out. He also goes on to say, I keep my foot on these people's necks till they pass out. Now, this basically gives us no answers apart from the fact that he's still a member of ASAP. Now, on top of this, what kind of adds to this whole storyline and kind of the beef between Bari, Illz, and Ferg in this case is a couple other situations. And now, I'm just gonna come out and say it. When was the last time we really saw Bari with Ferg? Like, let's be clear. Unless I'm tripping, unless I'm missing some Instagram posts or some stories or anything like that, which I will be happily corrected about, we haven't seen Bari with Ferg for a minute. Like, seriously, for a minute. And on top of that, as I mentioned in my last videos, Ferg came out and spoke out against Bari's behavior in a manner that made it very clear that there was some personal situation between Bari and Ferg that went down as a result of Bari's sexual allegations. And it's super important to say, in every other response we saw from an ASAP member to the Bari situation, they never spoke on him in such length and such honesty, and was kind of the response that really outlawed Bari's behavior. As you guys can see right here, he just came out and said, we don't condone that type of behavior, before speaking about how it affected his own personal brand. Whenever they showed the video or spoke about it on YouTube, it would be Shabba Ranks B-roll in the back of the video, and I was like, damn, I have nothing to do with that shit, but what happens is you're guilty by association. So in this case, Ferg is clearly saying, I don't mess with Bari because of these allegations, and on top of that, they personally affected me, my brand, my money, my kind of personal situation, and this kind of speaks to the gravity of the situation and kind of the disconnect between Ferg and Bari, in my opinion at least. Then on top of that, this is super interesting. If you guys remember this, a couple years ago now, ASAP Mob is the latest family to start in a Calvin Klein campaign. Now, I want you to take a look at this campaign right here and tell me who is missing from this picture. If you guys can't tell, Bari is noticeably missing and Illz is noticeably missing. Now, as members of ASAP who were there from the very beginning, and keep in mind, Illz and Bari used to be in all the original interviews, all the original photos when they first came up, and kind of all of that happened together. Now, all of a sudden, they're both not in this campaign right here. I think that speaks volumes. Now, to be fair, it does make sense why they wouldn't include Bari in this situation, because let's be honest, because of the sexual allegations, no brain wants to touch Bari with a 10-foot pole. But on top of that, if ASAP Illz is a founding member of ASAP, why isn't he included in this Calvin Klein campaign? I just think that was something interesting to note. So yeah, I don't know, I guess those are kind of some speculations and some conclusions that I drew from Ferg's response, and I don't really see people talking about. Sure, Ferg is still a member of ASAP. Sure, he confirmed that he's still cool with Rocky, but he addressed nobody else by name. Remember, the storyline and the narrative about this news wasn't about Rocky, it was about ASAP Illz and about Bari Bari's comments towards Ferg and the fact that he was no longer a member of ASAP Mob. So for him in his response to not respond to or even mention Illz or Bari by name, I just think that speaks volumes to kind of like the whole situation within the ASAP Mob right now. Plus on top of this, the lyrics of Ferg's in the song that he said was addressed in the situation where he said that people around him were jealous. As I said, this is just speculation, but to me, I would guess there's kind of like some inner tension between all those three right there. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. Always interested to know what you guys think. And as always, if you haven't, like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications, all that good YouTube stuff. And there are more videos of mine on screen right now. Make sure to check them out if you haven't.